very good day and a warm welcome to my class for today. As you see on screen, what is the meaning of life? I think there's no better time to describe it other than right now. Last year has been a year of mixed feelings and emotions, and it's been a year of difficulty. It's been a year where it's been very tough on many people, physically, emotionally, and we've gone through a lot. But it is also a year that has taught us many things. And I think the one thing that last year has taught us, or rather 2020 has taught us, is to understand life. Understand life in a much more better way. Life as it is, what do we look for? Many of us, we say happiness. Last year, the 2020, has taught us that there are a lot of things that we have neglected. There are a lot of things that we did not pay attention to, and a lot of other things that gained too much of our attention and which was not necessary at all. Last year, for many, it has been a tough time to go on ahead with life. It's been a year where everything took a halt. But for some, it has been a blessing too, where they've been running in this race of life, but at the same time, last year has given them a pause, or rather a break. And so I think last year, many of you will also agree with me when I say that last year we've looked at life from a different perspective. Or rather, 2020 has taught us to look at life from a different perspective. I'm sure for many of us, we have been able to mend relationships, not only with others, but ourselves. We've been able to take a more reflective perspective to look at what life is for us, or how we would like to define life, whether the life that we have been living, is it worth, or the life that we have been living has been meaningless. And so today's topic, what is the meaning of life? Sometimes for many of us, I don't know whether you'll agree with me or no, but the meaning of life starts coming in only when a little older. But also you'll find that the meaning of life changes with circumstances and situations that we go through. And I'm sure if I ask you the meaning of life in 2019 would have been different, 2020 would have been different, and I'm sure today it would have been different. Let's move ahead first. Let's look at this particular slide. Does this describe you? Let's look at the picture. What are the things that define you? What are the things that describe you? It is very important. I think when I said in the beginning that life from last year has put us on a reflective purpose, we've got enough time to actually start thinking who we are, what do we want, what are we looking ahead for, what are we looking forward to, what is more important for us in our life. So I want you to take a look at this picture and the next picture as well, to see what describes you, to think. If these pictures don't describe, also think what describes you. Let's look at the next slide. Look at this slide. Does this describe you? And let's try and answer these three questions. Where did we come from? Why am I here on earth? Or why am I here part of my family? Why am I here part of this college? Why I am here with my friends, with my relatives, or in a particular situation? And where are we going? These are three very, very important questions that we need to keep asking ourselves every now and then to know the meaning of life, or rather to know a little bit more about ourselves. Where did we come from? What, why am I here? What is my purpose on earth? What is my purpose in this particular life? And where am I going? These are the few questions that are very important. What is the purpose in life? This is without uh, putting any negative connotation or without judging anyone. Some of us is to have a fancy car, to become rich, to become famous, because it's not wrong either, but because that's how life has taught us. That if you become rich, you're happy. If you have a good career, you'll become happy. If you have the best car, you'll be happy. If you have the best phone, you'll be happy. If you have lots of money, you'll be happy. All these things come. So, what is my purpose? Let's ask ourselves, is it to have a fancy car, become rich and famous? Or is it to experience perpetual pleasure? Or is it to acquire power and control over others? Now we need to think. Okay? Think about it. What sort of activities do you enjoy? And why do you enjoy? And how do you feel when uh, when you go for those activities? What are your goals in life? These questions are questions which are asked every now and then, I'm sure. Every now and then somebody or the other asks you, what's your purpose? What's your goal in life? But somehow we may not have seriously thought about it. But now it's time. Take this 35 to 40 minutes to really think about it. Okay? The time that we have for this class, let's think about it. I'll give you an example. Maybe my primary goal is to be a great climber. Maybe that will give me meaning in my life. Or maybe my primary goal is to travel the world. That will give me meaning in life. Could be. My goal is to raise my daughters. That also could be one of the goals. Or it could be to work for world peace. Please don't go by the picture, okay? I don't know whether you'll agree to the picture. But then maybe to go for world peace, to do something. But we must remember the pursuit of pleasure, power, often results. In the coming videos, you will understand why we say this. Sometimes we want certain things. We feel that if we achieve it, we will become happy. But somehow, even if we achieve it, we don't really know what's going to come next. The pursuit of pleasure, power often results in feeling empty, boredom, anxiety, obesity, addiction, bankruptcy, depression, rehabilitation centers, suicide. I love what is written here on this slide. The two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. We must find out what's our purpose in life. But that does not mean that we are not saying that you don't need money, control in life, all that you need. But what is more important is that we learn to balance our spirituality and materialism. When I say spirituality, I don't really mean being ritualistic or be any religion. Okay? It is a feeling of oneness that is very important. And for this, I want you to listen to this next TEDx talk, and hopefully you'll be able to gain some insights from it.
I used to think the whole purpose of life was pursuing happiness. Everyone said the path to happiness was success, so I searched for that ideal job, that perfect boyfriend, that beautiful apartment. But instead of ever feeling fulfilled, I felt anxious and adrift. And I wasn't alone. My friends, they struggled with this too. Eventually, I decided to go to graduate school for positive psychology to learn what truly makes people happy. But what I discovered there changed my life. The data showed that chasing happiness can make people unhappy. And what really struck me was this. The suicide rate has been rising around the world, and it recently reached a 30-year high in America. Even though life is getting objectively better by nearly every conceivable standard, more people feel hopeless, depressed, and alone. There's an emptiness gnawing away at people, and you don't have to be clinically depressed to feel it. Sooner or later, I think we all wonder, is this all there is? And according to the research, what predicts this despair is not a lack of happiness. It's a lack of something else, a lack of having meaning in life. But that raised some questions for me. Is there more to life than being happy? And what's the difference between being happy and having meaning in life? Many psychologists define happiness as a state of comfort and ease, feeling good in the moment. Meaning, though, is deeper. The renowned psychologist Martin Seligman says meaning comes from belonging to and serving something beyond yourself, and from developing the best within you. Our culture is obsessed with happiness, but I came to see that seeking meaning is the more fulfilling path. And the studies showed that people who have meaning in life, they're more resilient, they do better in school and at work, and they even live longer. So this all made me wonder, how can we each live more meaningfully? To find out, I spent 5 years interviewing hundreds of people and reading through thousands of pages of psychology, neuroscience, and philosophy. Bringing it all together, I found that there are what I call 4 pillars of a meaningful life. And we can each create lives of meaning by building some or all of these pillars in our lives. The first pillar is belonging. Belonging comes from being in relationships where you're valued for who you are intrinsically and where you value others as well. But some groups and relationships deliver a cheap form of belonging. You're valued for what you believe, for who you hate, not for who you are. True belonging springs from love. It lives in moments among individuals, and it's a choice. You can choose to cultivate belonging with others. Here's an example. Each morning, my friend Jonathan buys a newspaper from the same street vendor in New York. They don't just conduct a transaction, though. They take a moment to slow down, talk, and treat each other like humans. But one time, Jonathan didn't have the right change, and the vendor said, "Don't worry about it." But Jonathan insisted on paying, so he went to the store and bought something he didn't need to make change. But when he gave the money to the vendor drew back. He was hurt. He was trying to do something kind, but Jonathan had rejected him. I think we all reject people in small ways like this without realizing it. I do. I'll walk by someone I know and barely acknowledge them. I'll check my phone when someone's talking to me. These acts devalue others. They make them feel invisible and unworthy. But when you lead with love, you create a bond that lifts each of you up. For many people, belonging is the most essential source of meaning, those bonds to family and friends. For others, the key to meaning is the second pillar, purpose. Now, finding your purpose is not the same thing as finding that job that makes you happy. Purpose is less about what you want than about what you give. A hospital custodian told me her purpose is healing sick people. Many parents tell me, my purpose is raising my children. The key to purpose is using your strengths to serve others. Of course, for many of us, that happens through work. That's how we contribute and feel needed. But that also means that issues like disengagement at work, unemployment, low labor force participation, these aren't just economic problems, they're existential ones too. Without something worthwhile to do, people flounder. Of course, you don't have to find purpose at work, but purpose gives you something to live for, some why that drives you forward. The third pillar of meaning is also about stepping beyond yourself, but in a completely different way. Transcendence. Transcendent states are those rare moments when you're lifted above the hustle and bustle of daily life. Your sense of self fades away and you feel connected to a higher reality. For one person I talked to, transcendence came from seeing art. For another person, it was at church. For me, I'm a writer, and it happens through writing. Sometimes I get so in the zone that I lose all sense of time and place. And these transcendent experiences can change you. One study had students look up at 200 feet tall eucalyptus trees for 1 minute. But afterwards, they felt less self-centered, and they even behaved more generously when given the chance to help someone. Belonging, purpose, transcendence. Now, the fourth pillar of meaning, I found, tends to surprise people. The fourth pillar is storytelling, the story you tell yourself about yourself. Creating a narrative from the events of your life brings clarity. It helps you understand how you became you. But we don't always realize that we're the authors of our stories and can change the way we're telling them. Your life isn't just a list of events. You can edit, interpret, and retell your story even as you're constrained by the facts. I met a young man named Emeka who'd been paralyzed playing football. After his injury, Emeka told himself, "My life was great playing football, but now, look at me." People who tell stories like this, "My life was good, now it's bad," they tend to be more anxious and depressed. And that was Emeka for a while. But with time, he started to weave a different story. His new story was, "Before my injury, my life was purposeless. I partied a lot and was a pretty selfish guy. But my injury made me realize I could be a better man." That edit to his story changed Emeka's life. After telling the new story to himself, Emeka started mentoring kids, and he discovered what his purpose was: serving others. The psychologist Dan McAdams calls this a redemptive story, where the bad is redeemed by the good. People leading meaningful lives, he's found, they tend to tell stories about their lives defined by redemption, growth, and love. But what makes people change their stories? Some people get help from a therapist, but you can do it on your own too, just by reflecting on your life thoughtfully. How your defining experiences shaped you, what you lost, what you gained. That's what Emeka did. You won't change your story overnight. It could take years and be painful. After all, we've all suffered and we all struggle. But embracing those painful memories can lead to new insights and wisdom, to finding that good that sustains you. Belonging, purpose, transcendence, storytelling. Those are the 4 pillars of meaning. When I was younger, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by all of the pillars. My parents ran a Sufi meeting house from our home in Montreal. Sufism is a spiritual practice associated with the whirling dervishes and the poet Rumi. Twice a week, Sufis would come to our home to meditate, drink Persian tea, and share stories. Their practice also involved serving all of creation through small acts of love, which meant being kind even when people wronged you. But it gave them a purpose, to rein in the ego. Eventually, I left home for college, and without the daily grounding of Sufism in my life, I felt unmoored, and I started searching for those things that make life worth living. That's what set me on this journey. Looking back, I now realize that the Sufi house had a real culture of meaning. The pillars were part of the architecture, and the presence of the pillars helped us all live more deeply. Of course, the same principle applies in other strong communities as well, good ones and bad ones. Gangs, cults, these are cultures of meaning that use the pillars and give people something to live and die for. But that's exactly why we as a society must offer better alternatives. We need to build these pillars within our families and our institutions to help people become their best selves. But living a meaningful life takes work. It's an ongoing process. As each day goes by, we're constantly creating our lives, adding to our story. And sometimes we can get off track. Whenever that happens to me, I remember a powerful experience I had with my father. Several months after I graduated from college, my dad had a massive heart attack that should have killed him. He survived, and when I asked him what was going through his mind as he faced death, he said all he could think about was needing to live so he could be there for my brother and me, and this gave him the will to fight for life. When he went under anesthesia for emergency surgery, instead of counting backwards from 10, he repeated our names like a mantra. He wanted our names to be the last words he spoke on earth if he died. My dad is a carpenter and a Sufi. It's a humble life, but a good life. Lying there facing death, he had a reason to live, love. His sense of belonging within his family, his purpose as a dad, his transcendent meditation repeating our names, these, he says, are the reasons why he survived. That's the story he tells himself. That's the power of meaning. Happiness comes and goes, but when life is really good and when things are really bad, having meaning gives you something to hold on to. Thank you.
I'm sure after watching that video, you would have realized that happiness, what we really run for, what we really try to achieve, is only a byproduct of many things. Like a saying which says, you cannot be successful until you love what you're doing. So also, you will find that, you know, happiness cannot come if you don't do certain things that keeps a balance in your life. And as in many classes, we have always been reiterating, humanity is one of the most important things that we must practice. Let's not talk about religion or spirituality too much. But let's talk about humanity. We all are born with emotions that are very basic. Actually, we are born with happiness. We are born with a complete package. But somehow or the other, as we grow, we realize that maybe we've messed up a lot and we've forgotten the basics that we have been born with. Faith, as we talk, is very important. Only in faith can we have the meaning and the possibility of life. Faith gives an infinite meaning to the finite existence of man, a meaning that is not destroyed by suffering, deprivation, or death. Faith does not basically mean that it's worshipping or it is not associated only with one religion or the other. Humanity, if we have faith in each other, that's very important. We may belong to different religions. We have our commitments to them. That's okay. That's one part of our faith. But the faith within oneself, faith among each other, is very important as well. And so we must start thinking, what's your life mission statement? Ask yourself, what is lacking in your life right now? Think about the video, the four pillars. What values are the most important to you? I think in the value education class, this is what we've been stressing a lot. To keep thinking what is most important, because that will somehow define, okay? That will somehow define our meaning in life. It will always push us towards doing it and making us more happy. keep it, write it down. And when we talked about faith, okay, remember things like these. There are when we talk, there's a difference between when I talk about faith and just religion. Okay, religion is very different. We have religious commitment, and probably these religious commitment will always help us in our faith development. Our religious engagement may help us. Our religious or social conservatism may help us as well. Our religious struggle may help us to develop our faith. So take these as struggles or as pathways in achieving the faith that we are looking for, or the happiness that we are looking for, or the meaning in life that we are looking for. In life, many of us we pursue to happiness, but actually, happiness is a byproduct of bringing goodness in others' lives, family, friends, and community. And so, it is very important for us to start thinking, what makes me happy? What's my purpose on earth? Why am I born here? Why this particular place? Why this particular time? And for some, many people will say that caring for others make me happy. A charitable involvement may make me happy. And you will always hear this. Money can buy everything. It's just a myth. Things money can't buy, and I think we've done this in the first year. Manners, morals, respect, character, common sense, trust, patience, class, integrity, love. There are many things that money cannot buy. So it is not money that will keep us happy, definitely. And in this next video, I want you to watch and listen very carefully. He will explain to you what is the difference between happiness value and utility value. And I hope you have a good time listening.
Times you must have heard it that money cannot buy happiness. How many of you heard it? Right? है ना? पैसा आपको खुशी नहीं ला सकता. करेक्ट? कितना भी ले लो नहीं आएगा खुशी. ऐसा आएगा ना उड़ उड़ के आएगा तब भी नहीं आएगा खुशी. नहीं आएगा खुशी. Correct? How many of you believe that money actually cannot buy happiness? It can buy you things, but it can't buy happiness. You all believe? Great. Now, how many of you believe but still want more money? Look at that now. All of you guys raised and said, "ये हाथ से उठाया, money can't buy happiness, but I want more." Isn't it? Isn't that true? With your left hand you say, "Money can't buy happiness." With your right hand say, "Actually चाहिए प्रभु जी." Oh God. If you're Marwadi Gujarati, thriller. I'm Marwadi. I used to be. I still am actually. And whoever's Gujarati here is Gujarati. No problem. Marwadi Gujarati are the most amazing communities doing so much service, contributing, earning and giving. Greatest charity work is done by these two communities actually. You know. लेकिन नाम खराब है बेचारों का. And they don't mind being joked at. They never take offense. Others take offense. Marwadi Gujarati बोला और बोलो प्रभु. One Gujarati guy wrote on our Facebook, "Thank you for making us famous by cracking jokes on us." ऐसा लिखा मेरे को Facebook पे मैसेज. मैं बोला ठीक है और 4 सुनाता हूँ मैं, don't worry. Oh God, can you imagine there was a Marwadi lawyer and a Gujarati doctor. And the Gujarati doctor, poor fellow, he just wouldn't get a job. So he decided to start a clinic. And on top of his clinic, he wrote 20 rupees to get any problem solved. If problem is not solved, 100 rupees back. So Marwadi lawyer passed by. He saw, इसको तो उल्लू बना सकता है अपन आराम से. 20 रुपया बोलता है और बोलता है अगर ट्रीट नहीं होगा तो 100 रुपया वापस देगा. अभी तो 100 निकाल के रहूंगा मैं इससे. So the Marwadi lawyer came and he said to the Gujarati doctor, "Sir, I have lost my taste. Can you bring it back?" So the doctor told his compounder, bring bottle number 22 and put some drops on his tongue. So the compounder poured and put few drops from bottle number 22 on the tongue of the Marwadi lawyer. And he shouted, "Hey, what is this? This is petrol!" He said, "You have gained your taste back. Give me 20 rupees. Give me 20 rupees." So the Marwadi lawyer was like, "Now, man, I have to do something about it now." So the next time he went and went to the doctor. He said to the Gujarati doctor, "Doctor, I'm sorry, but I have lost my memory. Kuch yaad Can you treat, please?" So the doctor told the compounder, "Can you bring bottle number 22 and put a few drops?" He said, "That's petrol." Doctor said, "Memory back. Give 20 rupees." Your memory is back now. Pay back 20 rupees. The third time, this Marwadi lawyer said, "Now I have to crack this guy, you know." He went again to the doctor and said, "Doctor, I've lost my eyesight. Kuch dikhta nahi. Can you bring my eyesight back?" He said, "That's the only problem we cannot cure." So I told the compounder, ₹100 दे उसको. So compounder ने 20 ही दिया. तो बोला 20 रुपया, बोला आईसाइट मिला ना, चला 100 रुपया वापस दे. I'll tell you, smart guys, you know, the Gujjus bet the Marus. But with all the money we may get, whichever way, jokes apart, we can buy so much stuff, and all the stuff that we have has utility value, not happiness value. A laptop has utility value. A phone has utility value. A car has utility value. A house has utility value. Clothes have utility value. Don't ascribe happiness value to something that only has utility value. Utility है भगवान की दया से बड़ी गाड़ी मिले चला लो, लेकिन उसमें सुख मत ढूंढो ना. सुख कहां से मिलेगा? उसमें है ही नहीं. उसका तो काम करने के लिए बना है. गाड़ी सुख के लिए थोड़ी बनी है, वो तो ट्रैवल करने के लिए बनी है. अच्छी है, स्टेटस बन गया, भगवान की दया से बड़ी मिल गई, ले लो, कौन मना कर रहा है? लेकिन उसमें सुख ढूंढना, हाय हाय. But we all have these desires, and we all keep fulfilling these desires. In your early 20s till late, as in this 20s, you have this wrong concept of happiness. Let me work hard, let me get all the money, let me buy all of that stuff, let me get all the phones, let me have those palaces, let me have my dream house, let me have my dream car, and I'll be happy. You dream. All 20-year-olds between 20 and 30 are dreamers. And there's nothing wrong with dreaming. There's nothing wrong with earning, and there's nothing wrong with having. But to dream that this is what will make you happy, I'm sorry to say, I'm just saying, don't make the mistake of equating your happiness with something that only has utility value.
I'm sure, like the speaker says, once we're able to identify, we are confused lot, somehow we are very confused. We know every now and then money cannot buy happiness, but still we all are running for it. We think by getting it, we will be more happy. So I hope with that talk, you've been able to clear your mind a little bit. And remember, when we know what is really that happiness value, we will also start thinking in one way or the other that, I am not powerless. Most of the time we think I am powerless. There's nothing that I can do. I'm so small. I'm just one being. But remember, great things have a very simple beginning. So never underestimate yourself. The defiant human spirit can always accomplish something or the other. And remember, happiness often entails suffering. Everyone wants happiness, but no one wants pain. But you can't make a rainbow without a little rain. So remember, when there is rain in your life, it's all because there's a rainbow that's supposed to come up. Take charge of your life, of how you feel today. And if you really want to choose happiness, it's very important we take charge of our own life and don't always come up, why me? Many a times in life we face setbacks and we wonder, why me, God? But instead of saying, why me? No? We should be thankful that it is us because we are learning something. Remember, it is that little bit of rain that is going to make a beautiful rainbow. Okay? And in life is almost like this. Look at this picture. Tell to yourself, can you identify whether it is sunrise or sunset? Only time and perspective will definitely let us know whether it is sunrise or sunset. And to be specific, if you keep watching it, 30 minutes later, you'll find that it is a sunrise. So in life, the sun rises every morning. So also in life, you will always find that you can gather your strength. You can, motivate yourself to do things that are very important. It's only with time and how you look at life that matters a lot. Remember, the 4 pillars to bringing meaning into your life is very important. They're very basic, very simple, yet we forget to practice. And remember to identify the difference between what's utility value and what is happiness value. Remember, don't associate happiness to utility. And the saying which says that money can't buy everything is really true. But we must find out by ourselves. We must find out the difference. We must be convinced that it is true. And be watchful, be mindful every day of your life. What makes me happy? And I'm sure if we are more aware and more mindful of ourselves every day, you will find that it becomes much more easier to understand ourselves and to live a much more healthy and a happy life. Thank you so much for the class. Have a good day ahead.